Good morning and welcome to PFlax in the morning. It's about 6:30 a.m. here in Seattle. I got in yesterday at about 5:30 p.m. And because I'm an experienced Valve attendee, I managed to make it through customs. It's a damn shame what happened to Bulldog. I'm very sad because I was going to be working with him. It was going to be me and him doing content together, but sadly it's not to be. I don't want to talk any more about the visa situation because I don't know what's going to happen. Future Valve events, people who are here already. Either way, it's messed up and it needs to be sorted properly for future. It's one of those things. It's unlucky for Bulldog. It sounds like he had a terrible time. The situation, for those of you who don't know, though I'm sure you all do, is that when he got to customs, they said to him, "What are you here for?" And he said, "Oh, I'm here to work at the International." And they said, "Could you say that again, that W word?" And he said, "Work." And once you say that, you need a work visa. It's a tough one. It should have been handled better, that's for sure. And now we don't get Bulldog at TI. And more importantly, we don't get Bulldog and Flax at TI, which is, I think, a real shame. It would have been a lot of fun. I'm in my hotel room. Dawn is breaking across Seattle. I woke up at about 6, I think. Yeah, about 6, which is pretty good, because that's basically 2 p.m. We got here last night and I landed, showered and changed and went straight to the players' dinner, which was great. It always is. Get to hang out with everybody, catch up with everybody, say hi to everybody. Met the new guys, some of them anyway. I met Quinn, aka CC&C, and teased him about the fact that he's had a lot of hate on Reddit. He seemed like a nice guy. He did. Funny guy. I think he'll be fine. And a lot of people jump to conclusions about the way people act in a pub game. I've certainly flamed people in pub games before. It's not a crime. Yes, it's annoying sometimes the way people act, if deliberately feeding or whatever, but you don't know the situation. I think it's very easy to say, "This guy is evil because he fed in a pub game." It's like, yeah, I know, it sucks. It does happen. I hate it, but I don't think it makes him a bad guy. And he seemed like a nice kid. He's like 18, so basically what I'm saying is the boy made a mistake, but I'm sure he'll be fine. It's hard for me to get angry at young people because, everybody does stupid shit. I still do stupid shit, and I should know better. But if you fuck up when you're 18, people are like, "Oh, he's a fucking arsehole." No, he's just inexperienced, or emotional, or he's a kid. People do stuff that's kind of silly and stupid, and they don't really think about it. And they say things amongst friends. This is the biggest problem with streaming, by the way, is you're hanging out with people, you're playing a game, you're making jokes, you're talking with friends, and sometimes the conversation you're having with friends is not a conversation you would have publicly. So for instance, some jokes that you tell amongst close friends would be far more edgy, they'd be unacceptable in a broader sort of audience, or to a broader audience, but amongst a group of people, you all know each other, you know where you're coming from, the jokes you can make it can be outrageous. I mean, I never want to police people's private conversations, and the problem with streaming is that sometimes you're having a private conversation and you forget that what you're talking about is going out on stream, or maybe you just don't give a shit, in which case, that's a whole different situation. The hotel is really nice. We're in a different hotel from previous years. They gave us internet in the room, 20 meg download, but crucially, which isn't impressive, but crucially 20 meg upload, which is streamable. That is streamable, and it means that uploading videos and vlogs like this one will be a lot easier. The flight was a great flight. My flight in was a great flight. I got on at about 3:30 p.m. local time in Heathrow in London. It was a smooth 9.5-hour flight that turned into a 8-minute 55 flight because of tailwinds and efficiency, or whatever the route they took. It was like we got in early. The flight itself was completely perfect. I didn't get to sleep much, but I had my laptop with me and I was able to watch some TV shows and movies and catch up on that. Didn't have a PowerPoint at the back of the plane, which I don't like. I think everyone, there's a lot of static being generated when you're flying through the air. You tell me you couldn't fit a PowerPoint for me to plug my damn laptop into. I'll run it off the static. You know what I'm saying? Just put some kind of a gather free electricity from the atmosphere. I mean, how much static must a plane make? It must be generating like 1 billion watts, 1.21 gigawatts maybe. But I was sat next to this beautiful, beautiful American girl. She must have been 24, 25. And she was just gorgeous, and she was very sweet. And at first I thought, yeah, she's really pretty. And then when the steward came around and asked if she wanted anything, she smiled, and her smile was just like lit up the plane. And I was like, holy shit, this girl is gorgeous. And then I didn't want to bother her. She was listening to music and she was watching TV, and occasional pleasantries, but nothing major. And then towards the end of the flight, she asks me a question. Like she I mean, this is the kind of person she was. She was just very sweet. She lifts up the window, the little flap, and she knocks me on the shoulder. She goes, look, and there's like a mountain. I was like, oh wow. I said, that's gorgeous. And then she starts a conversation. She says, hey, have you been to Seattle before? You've been to Washington before? And we started talking. I told her about what I did. She told me about what she did. And she was like, what do you do? And I was like, I play video games for a living, and I have a YouTube channel. And she says, oh, you like on Twitch and stuff? I was like, yes, I'm on Twitch, and I'm actually going to a very important video game tournament, and I'm looking forward to it very much. And I said, what do you do? She goes, oh, I'm studying for my master's in computer science, and I'm just coming back from Palestine, where I've been teaching kids how to program. I was like, oh well, that sounds very worthy, and it makes my job sound like a fucking piece of shit. I didn't say anything, but I was just like, oh my god, this girl has like she's beautiful, and she's like getting a master's degree, and in her spare time she's going to Palestine to work with these what's the word? Not undernourished, not underprivileged. I don't think underprivileged. Unprivileged, malprivileged. These kids have got fucked up lives. Okay, she's going to Palestine to work with them, and I'm like, damn. She's spending their spare time. It's like, what do you want to do with your spare time? What are you going to do with your summer? I think I'll go to Palestine and teach kids how to program. It's like, oh shit. I mean, the thing is, in 20 or 30 years' time, some kid's going to be like, I'm a programmer, I'm working for Microsoft or whoever, and what really helped me was this woman came and taught me how to program computers when I was a kid, like growing up in Palestine. And no one's going to turn around in 30 years and say, the reason I started my business empire is because I saw PFlax in his fucking bathrobe in a hotel on YouTube. I ain't doing shit. I ain't helping anybody. Downsides to the trip so far. Number one, Owen Pixel is here. Owen O.D. Pixel Davies. Can't stand the guy. Flax is here. Gorilla. A garbage bag. A man who wears a garbage bag and also is a garbage bag. Draskell is here, and he's looking all slim, and he's wearing all tight jumpers and t-shirts and shit now to show off how ripped and cool he is. Cinderin's here. I told him he lost weight. He promptly told me whether he had or hadn't, and he calculated it back over the last year, telling me his entire weight gain and weight loss situation. Fogged is here. He's just a weasel. Don't trust the guy. Sheebs, I haven't seen Sheebs yet. I'm looking forward to seeing Sheebs. She's nice. She's the good one. Day 9 hasn't got here yet. I saw Machine. He was doing crack and stuff on the corner with a bunch of homeless guys. I didn't want to tell him that wasn't the done thing. Saw a bunch of the players. Saw PPD. Talked about his podcast. A bit. And I said to him, I really like it. I think it's a good show. And we talked about the Nahaz situation, which was where he basically flamed Nahaz. But he was like, hey, it was kind of mean. It wasn't necessary on a podcast. And I said to him, I think that's what a podcast is exactly for. It's for talking shit and being honest. And it should be a conversation that you're not afraid to cover pretty much any topic you want. And also, you're basically, a podcast is a product. And if you're making a podcast where you just sit there and you talk nicely and you say, oh yeah, well, it's great to see you, Alan. Hi, hi, PPD. Yeah. And they just have a nice chat. Who the fuck wants to watch that? I want to see PPD flaming people. I want to see Alan getting, but, That's what you want to see. It's like, that's what makes it interesting, and how people handle that is interesting. He didn't ask me on the show, which I completely get. I don't think I would fit in, because he generally asks real people on. But he did say he wanted to talk to me more about parenting. He has some funny ideas about parenting, I'll tell you that much. He really does. I'm not saying he's going to be a dad, but I mean, everybody that I talk to, like in their mid-20s to late 20s, is starting to get the idea that they'd like to have kids someday. When someone's like 16, 17, they're like, I never want kids. I'm always like, yeah, I remember that conversation when I was that age. And then I got to like 28, 29, and I started thinking, you know what, maybe kids wouldn't be the worst thing. Because this is the thing, I met friends of mine who had kids. And when you see what a kid is like firsthand, and you can be honest and say to your friend, how much does it suck? How much does it suck having kids? And they'll be like, it's the fucking worst, man. It's so bad. Don't do it, for the love of God. Like, if that was the conversation, that would change your view of it. But the conversation is always, it's fantastic, it's hard work, but it's wonderful, it's the best thing I ever did. And that, give it a few years, it sinks in, and then maybe you and your partner decide to have kids. So PPD is not on the verge of having kids, but when I said to him, are you going to have kids someday? He went, yeah, definitely. Because like most people, he's mature enough, not like most people, like some people, he's mature enough to see beyond his current situation and his current feelings about something. Like when I said, oh, I'm never going to have kids, it's fucking gross. What's the point? Bringing another child into this world, it's already too populated, too many people, on the verge of World War III. And then someone said to me that basically they said, do you think it's fair to bring kids into this world, like the way things are going? And this was actually a friend of mine called Simon, my best friend. He said to me a few years ago, where we had this same conversation, and it drives him crazy when people say, oh, it's not fair to bring a child into this world. He said, actually, wait, no, I'm misquoting him, which is classic PFlax. We were having a conversation about things sucking, and people were saying that this is terrible, and these are the worst times. And I think he was trying to make a point that, which I then co-opted and used when I talked to PPD, which was, I'm going to get to the point any second, which was basically that throughout history, if you look at how shitty things have been, the idea that now is a bad time to bring kids in the world is kind of laughable. Because honestly, what if the Black Plague was going on? Why are we bringing a child into this world? The world is ending. We got the Black Plague, World War II. Why are we bringing a child into this world? Hitler's marching across Europe. The American Civil War. I don't know what's going to happen to America. Why do you think it's right to bring a child into the world? The bad shit, the bad times, which is all the time, forever. During all those periods, the idea that people at that time would have thought the same thing. Why the fuck are we bringing a kid into this world? Our village is literally being burned on, right now, and here we are having sex to make a child. I'm currently on fire. I'm currently being attacked by Genghis Khan's best mate. Alright, he's got a sword, he's literally chopping my head off as we speak, but let's quickly have a baby. There's never a good time, and it's never, look how big my hand looks this way, by the way, if I sit like this. That's fucked up. It looks like a big spider. Speaking of which, I saw a movie on the plane called Life. It's got Jake Gyllenhaal in it, and a couple of other actors and actresses that I recognized, but I couldn't remember their names. The guy from Deadpool, Ryan Bosworth? Ryan Bosley? Ryan Gosling? No, not Ryan Gosling. Deadpool. Ryan Deadpool. He's in it. Might be Brian. I can't remember. I do know the guy, and I'm not know him, but I know of him, but I can't remember his fucking name. Anyway, he was good. But it was basically, they bring back a probe from Mars, and it's got a little tiny bug living in the soil, and they bring the soil sample in, and they sort of bring this little cell back to life with a bit of oxygen and a bit of old scientific magic, and then it starts to grow, and they start to sort of communicate with it. It's like a little tiny plant frond. It's like waving in the it's in petri dish and everything. And they got it sealed in this box, and they've got that box sealed in a room, and they're on the ISS. Now, I've got a few problems with their so-called, airlock system. I don't think I've ever seen a laboratory where the airlock consists of one door. It's not really an airlock, is it? Because an airlock has to have two doors. Because what you do is you open one, you go in, you close it. You wait a second, then you open this one, and then you go in. If you just have one door, that's not an airlock. That's a door. So they had the box, and they had a door. And basically, obviously, shit goes wrong. I mean, well, you can have a movie about shit that goes right, shit goes wrong. The dude's in there poking around with this thing, and it grabs onto his hand, and it won't let go. And he starts to try to pull his hand out, and it tightens on his hand. And he's like, okay, this sucks. And at this point, it's like the size of a starfish, this little thing. And it looks like a starfish. It's basically a killer starfish in space. Okay, that's the gist of the movie. Spoilers. For the next couple of minutes, there's going to be spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie, it's no biggie. It's not worth seeing. It's like a 6, maybe a 5 out of 10. That's my succinct review, but I'm now going to talk about the movie anyway. So it starts to grab his hand, and he's like, it's got my hand! It's got my hand! And then it starts to crush his hand. And he gets like this little tool that's in the box. So it's like one of those glove boxes, you know? So he's got his glove in the box, and he stabs it with the tool, and it just grabs the tool and sort of throws it away, sort of thing. And so it's intelligent. And it basically crushes his hand to jelly. And at that point, he's able to take his hand out. And I'm thinking, not so bad. You got your hand back, even if it's just. And they had a pretty good effect. His hand was just like completely mush, and he's like, oh, and he collapses. He passes out, and this fucking thing starts moving around in the box, and it goes into the glove, and it starts like pushing the glove out. So it's like coming out of the box, like here's the co special effect. It starts coming out of the box in the glove like that. And I was like, oh, cool. It's like, because it's like a hand shape, so it's pushing the hand. And I was like, oh, it's going to like grab him with the hand and pull him back and poke his eyes out and stuff. But instead, it didn't. It just sort of realized it couldn't get out. It went back. It picked up that tool thing. And this is one of my few problems with the film. Picks up the tool thing, snaps it in half, and cuts its way out of the rubber glove, and then it's out. It doesn't exhibit any other tool use throughout the film, even though there are lots of times when it could have. So I thought that was kind of fucked up. Like, it manages to spot this little thing, and it snaps it in half, it fashions a tool for itself, but it's the only time it does it. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. If the thing can use tools, it's going to use tools all the time, but it only uses them that one time. Yeah? What's up with that? It's like a gorilla making a bow and arrow, shooting a bird with it, and then going, how the fuck am I going to cook this thing? Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. You're using tools, you're using tools. So then the thing is loose on the ship, and Ryan, whatever his name is, goes in to help his buddy, and the thing goes in his mouth, and he's like, and he dies, and then it comes out of him, and it's even bigger, and it starts to absorb all their energy, and eventually it ends up like the size of a big fucking manta ray kind of starfish. And of course, at this point, they realize they can't, let this thing back to Earth because it's fucking nuts. So they come up with a way to get rid of it, and the crew gets killed off one by one and all that shit. One guy, he has like 5 lines in the movie, and then we have like this scene where he's looking at the pictures of his daughter being born, because she's being born, he's watching it on Skype, phoning it in, good job, Dad. He's watching the Skype, his kid's born, and he's like, oh, that's really great, and everyone's like, grats. And then he dies, like one scene later, of course, I hate it when they use families and kids as a motive, because I get it. It's like a universal adapter for a motive. All you have to do is say he did it for his family, and people are like, yeah, gotcha. His family, he did it for his family. It makes perfect sense. But you can't just be like, who's this guy? I don't know anything about this guy. I don't even really know his name or anything about him. And he's just like, boom, picture of me and the kids. Now you care. It's like, no. You need more than that. You can't just be flashing a picture of your family and suddenly I'm going to be like, this guy's amazing. This guy's had kids. Okay, that's as cool as it gets. I mean, I personally believe that, but just lazy. I don't know if you guys heard that big honk, honk. The port is like 2 blocks down, or the harbour, whatever the fuck you call it. This is just me talking bollocks. This is like a podcast with no other people. It's fucking great. Fucking great. Anyway, at the end of the movie, the creature gets back to Earth. I watched Game of Thrones, and it was pretty good. No spoilers here. I'm not going to spoil a Game of Thrones because I know how that is. It's a great show. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a little HBO number they knocked up. It's pretty good. And the most recent episode I thought was... Some people are saying it was the best episode in the series so far. Certainly a lot of shit happened. I thought it was very well done, very well acted. We caught up on a lot of stuff. A lot of big stuff happened. Had some great memorable scenes. So I tended to go along with that. It was a pretty fucking good episode. Although I also liked the other episodes in this series. I think it's been a cracker so far. They normally, because this is only like 7 episodes long, I think, this series, they normally do this thing where they have episodes where fuck all happens. Or like one thing happens, and then it's a lot of conversations. There's a lot of times where the conversations would just Tyrion Lannister, who I like as a character, but just talking bollocks for like 8 minutes just to fill some time. I suppose my father and I didn't have the best relationship, but then again, whose fathers do have good relationships with their children, and I must say, when it comes to relationships, I'm not the best person to talk to. Of course, I've spent most of my time drinking. It's like, yeah, we get it, pal. Like, we got your character 2 seasons ago, and now we're still having you plus some naked chick sitting in a boat, or sitting in a castle, or sitting in a lake, or whatever. I don't know, talking bollocks while he just drinks wine. It's like, yeah, we get it. This is pure filler. You know what the other thing I noticed is that those conversations that he has now are like clearly written by someone that is not George R. R. Martin. Whereas the one about the guy crushing beetles, what was it? Kun, or whatever, that bit. You know, if that's the noise the guy makes while he's smashing the bugs, I'm like, this really sounds like this dialogue taken from the book, because it's fucking awful. Like, you know, I tried reading the book. I got a few chapters in and I was like, I don't want to read this. This is bad. I don't care if that's heresy. It seems really bad. And the dialogue is all so fucking long-winded and just bad. Yeah, I didn't care for it. But it made a great TV show. Speaking of which, I don't know if you've read the books called Red Rising. They're real good. You should read them. I tell everybody this, but it was Hotbit, aka Ken, or Ken, aka Hotbit, whichever way you look at it. He recommended them to me at like TI7 or 5, I think, and he said, "Have you read this book, Red Rising?" I was like, "Never heard of it, homie." And he said, "You should get it. It's really good." And I got it, and it was really good. It's a trilogy. There's a sequel coming in like a few months' time or something like that. It's very good. I'm currently reading. Let me show you what I'm reading. Shit. Currently reading this book by a guy called John Scalzi. I don't know if that's backwards for you guys. It's John Scalzi. It's not Hodge Isalks, and it's called The Collapsing Empire. And to give you the gist of it, it's set in the 2600 AD. Mankind has colonized the stars, but only through the use of this thing called the flow. Actually, it's not set in 2600 AD. What am I talking about? It's set way beyond that. What am I even talking about? Like 6,000 years or something like that. Jesus, I'm an idiot. Anyway, they colonize the stars, but only certain planets are connected by this thing called the flow, which is like hyperspace highways that run between certain systems. They're just sort of a natural feature of the galaxy that they happen upon. And the book opens with one of these starting to collapse, and a ship gets bumped out, and it only just makes it back in. The problem is they don't have faster than light travel in this universe. It's like a realistic universe. If you're just stuck in space, you're just going to have to travel. You're going to have to suck it up and spend like 100 years traveling between stars. So that's obviously not going to happen. Like, they don't have any ships that can travel that far, because it's really fucking hard to travel that far. You've got to bring all the fuel and shit with you. You've got to have all this oxygen and all this water and all this food and stuff like that. So he's been very, very realistic about it. But he's also very funny, and the book is just, it's great. I'm like 6 or 7 chapters in. It's really good. John Scalzi, The Collapsing Empire. Apparently he's a big time author. Let me have a look here. Where is it? He's written a whole bunch of shit. And he's been around for ages. I just heard of it. I mean, there's his also by page. It's like, A shitload. The Old Man's War series. The Old Man's War, the Ghost Brigades, the Last Colony. I might read this stuff. Anyway, he's good. He's real good. I like him a lot. John Scalzi. Is that it? Are we done? I kind of feel like I should talk about something. Let's talk about TI. This is my 5th TI. This has been a very long solo podcast, by the way. But I'm just up early, got nothing else to do, and I figured we could just talk bollocks for a bit. Feel free to comment. I don't read comments, but you guys can argue amongst yourselves about something. I guess if that entertains you. Anyway, this is my 5th TI. I didn't expect to get invited to 1, let alone 5. I don't really know why I'm here. Some people were very upset that I was flown out here instead of Cottle Guy. We do very different things. He's like, you know, competent. I'm not. He is good looking and young. I'm not. He is many things, and I am basically just a guy who comes to Dota events and doesn't really know why he's here. And people say to me when I say that, like jokingly, they're like, "Hey, you bring something." Like they can't even really say. They don't fucking know. Valve doesn't really know. But I'm here to do. I was here to do content with Bulldog and Slacks, and now it's just going to be me and Slacks. We're going to rope in other people to help out. Basically, in place of Bulldog, we're going to grab whoever is available. We're going to grab them and use them. So we're going to do like live bits, pre-recorded bits, stuff like that. All filler content, all, you know, just stuff. And I'm like, that sounds great. So Ken's like the producer of all that stuff. He's writing it, researching it, organizing it, and then all I have to do is be on camera and not be an idiot. So we're like halfway there. I'm on camera right now. It's easy. You just sit there and look at it. I mean, I've spoken for half an hour. If you said to most people, I want you to just talk bollocks for half an hour, they'd be like, I don't know what to talk about. Luckily, it's like the only thing I can do is just talk bollocks until you tell me to cut, you know, and then I'll stop. The room has good internet, like I said, so I'm going to try and do some streaming. I'm going to play some Dota. One issue. Actually, here's my issues with this hotel room. Number one, there's no way to make tea. You can make coffee, but you can't make tea. That shit's fucked up. Tea is much better than coffee. Can't make tea. I brought my tea bag. Brought tea bags. Alright, I bought a shitload of Yorkshire Gold. Molto bene, as they say in Yorkshire. There's like one of those coffee machines, you know, with the thing where you pull the thing down and push a button, it goes and then spits out coffee. No kettle. What's up with that? What, people only drink coffee in America? Fuck off. People drink tea all the time. Have the means to make tea. What else? PowerPoints. They have a desk. There's no easily accessible PowerPoints. What's up with that? Like, what's the point in having a desk? Everybody these days has a laptop, traveling for business, nowhere to plug it in. I had to unplug a lamp. Alright, what am I? Mr. DIY? Had to unplug a lamp. Could have electrocuted myself. Plugged in my laptop to that. I brought a keyboard and a mouse. The desk is pretty shallow. Laptop is pretty fucking big. That's on the desk. There's no room for the keyboard. I've had to push the laptop as far away as I can just to squeeze the keyboard on. It's uncomfortable. It's not ergonomic. Nowhere to rest my hand. Brought my mouse and my mouse pad. Plenty of room for that. That's covered. Has a wired connection for the internet just right there on the desk. Molto bene. Beautiful. Love it. That's what you should have. No hotel room should rely on Wi-Fi. Just give me a fucking cable. Because what I've done in previous years, I actually brought a 10-meter Ethernet cable, because it's the shortest one I've got, to plug in. Because what you can do is wherever the Wi-Fi is, you can find, there's often in hotel rooms a little paid port for high-speed internet. So you have to plug into this little box, right? You plug into the box, and when you do that, it goes through this little mini router that recognizes your traffic and bills you for it. You can find where that plugs in. You just unplug that shit, plug directly into the Ethernet port. Boom, you got free internet. I've done it in a bunch of hotels. Some of them are wise to it. Some of them will find you after a few hours and message you and say, are you using the internet without paying for it? You're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I just plugged it in. And they're like, oh, you must have a faulty box. And you go, my box ain't faulty, motherfucker. I unplugged it. It's working perfectly. But you just say, yeah, it must be. Another travel tip for you. while we're on the subject, you can smoke, you can vape on airplanes. I'm not saying I've ever done it. It's purely a theoretical discussion, okay? I'm convinced it's possible. And if it were possible, what one would do is go into the bathroom, obviously, and there's the sink, right? And the sink is like, you know, it's got that little thing on the sink that the water goes down. What do they call that? A water draining socket, right? So a plug hole. The water goes down there. So imagine this is the plug hole. It's got like that little thing. You push a button and it goes up, right? So you push the plunger down and the thing goes. Listen for that sound. On some planes it doesn't go. It just sits there. But on some planes it goes because there's a very faint suction that drains the water away. And if you were to say blow smoke down it, I reckon the smoke would go right down that plug hole, and no one would be any the wiser. That would be my guess. That is purely a theoretical guess. But you could say, but imagine the smoke will go in straight down the plug hole. Just imagine that. You could do that. I'm theorizing. Would definitely be possible. Also, I had this conversation with the beautiful woman on the plane. I said to her, I'm very curious because I like to poll people, P-O-L-L. Obviously, you know, in this case, I would have liked to. We'll move on from that one. I like to poll people for their opinions and attitudes and stuff because, you know, one-on-one conversation, people are more honest. And I said to her, because we were at the very rear of the plane, like the back seat. And I said to her, did you choose this seat voluntarily? She goes, no, I just booked late. And I said, because I chose this seat. Like this was my choice of seat. When the plan came up, I scrolled right to the bottom and I picked the very last seat I could that was either aisle or window, right at the end. And she said, why? Doesn't it take ages to get off the plane? I said, here's the thing. You're on a 10-hour flight and you're worried about the 10 minutes it takes to get off the plane? I'm worried about the 10 hours. All right, I go big. And here are my many theories about why sitting at the back is superior. Number one, far more likely to get an empty seat next to you. Everybody books at the front, right? When people go to select a seat, they see a bunch of seats on the screen, they just click on one and they click accept. They don't scroll down. They're not scrollers. Some of them don't even know how. I scroll right to the bottom. And I find the rows that have nobody in. So here's what you want to do. If there's a 2Z or a 3Z, you pick the aisle or you pick the window. I go aisle because I like to get up and go to the toilet and nothing else. And then, where was I? Yeah, so I like to sit in the aisle. You get a bit more leg room, you know, it's better to come and go. If you're in the aisle and there's only a 2Z, you're less chance someone's going to pick the seat next to you. They'll pick somewhere. I don't want to sit next to some guy. I don't want to be squeezed in the window with some fucking bald guy. So they don't pick that seat. People, like I said, generally sit further up. If they have children, they will be sitting nearer the front. People with families need a full row, okay? And those are all booked up way in advance. You book a row of seats, and they're all there, and they've probably done like some big package deal, and the mum will be checking in the moment it's available. Bam! 24 hours ahead of time. She's like, to the second, she's checking in and picking out a whole row. And a 2Z, you're not going to have a family and no 2Z. They're all 5Zs, 4Zs and 5Zs. You know, they all want to sit in each other. And a lot of bigger groups of people that will be sat in the middle rows, nearer the front, and everything like that. The empty rows are always at the back. They're always at the back. Always, always, always. I flew back from LA one time from a summit. It was terrible turbulence. It was really late. I was very tired. Had a row of 5 seats to myself. 5 for the entire journey. It was magical. I just lay down. It was just the best flight ever. So yeah, that's it. You also get to see the stewardesses. They get to know you. They see you all the time. Like, oh, hi, how's it going? You could say, can I just get? And they'll just say, oh, yeah, no problem. But downside, it was economy. Last year, Val flew us out business class. This year, it was economy. Kind of sucks. I wish it was business. Business is so good. I would have had room for my laptop, like as a little desk. Could have had my mouse out, played games, but no. Anyway, that's a 35-minute PFlax in the morning. We'll call it a day there. Other ones might be shorter. Other ones might be this long. But as an early introduction, to this series of TI7 PFlax in the mornings. I'm not going to do the song. I'll tell you why. Like I said before, I had not watched Community at the point that I first did PFlax in the morning, and the tune was PFlax in the morning. Does that remind anyone of anything? Troy and Abed in the morning. And when I saw that, I was like, oh my fucking god, I stole the whole so and so in the morning. I just did it. I didn't even watch the fucking show. When I saw the show, I was like, fuck, it's gonna look like I nicked this, because this show is older than PFlax in the morning, and Troy and Abbott in the morning got there first. So I'm not going to sing the song anymore. I might come up with something else. Like if I get a bongo, I might do a brief bongo solo, something like that. Some clapping, a cappella stuff. But anyway, I'll see you guys next time. PFlax in the morning will return tomorrow morning. Stay frosty and keep your powder dry and keep your greens collared, and I'll see you soon.